When one door closes,
another one opens.
Welcome to the True North Lifestyle Podcast.
All right. We're here at the True North Lifestyle Podcast today.
What's so funny, Joe?
Cleaning the tables off.
that's a scope.
Getting things ready.
That's a scope cleaner.
That's exactly what it is. We needed these, didn't we, Jason?
Probably somebody out there needs that one.
I'm sure.
So today's kind of a cool episode. This is kind of fresh in our minds, so we wanted to do it. Right away, but I guess we're all back from some adventures. I'm here today with Rick Labby.
Hello.
Never heard of him.
Old Guide Mike.
Hi, I'm Lee Libby.
We've all heard of him.
And Jason Delpalazzo is joining us on Zoom.
Here he is.
I'm
Morning,
here.
Jason.
Hey.
So Jason and I are fresh back from a moose hunting trip to Alaska.
Yeah.
Rick's back from Wyoming and
Colorado.
for elk.
Yeah.
Old Guy Mike's fresh back from the North Maine woods moose hunting.
Zone 4. Yep.
So
Telling us stories all morning already.
I know there's blood all over this table.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start, since we got a connection and we can actually see and hear Jason. We'll start with we talk about the Alaska trip quite a bit over time. I've been going for this year was my fourth time going moose hunting out there. Fourth different partner going with, which is always fun. I mean, it wasn't Jason's first time out there, but Jason, I guess, why don't you give a little background on the last trip out there and kind of leading up to this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, it's been my dream to get a moose since, I guess around 2000 was when I first really kind of decided I wanted to do that. And I can still remember now, applying that first time for that moose permit, I was like, oh man, could you imagine? So it's been a dream of mine for a long time, and I've been applying. And then I think around when my son was born, which is 2011, I was actually scheduled. I wasn't scheduled. I was about to give the deposit to do the Alaska trip. And when I found out my wife was pregnant, I didn't go because, it was just, I thought it was not the right thing to do, So I didn't end up going then. And then, then the economy kind of got a little better, and I started making some more money, and I was going to decide I wanted to do it again, And then I guess you guys kind of brought it to the table that you were going to do the trip, I guess, 3 years ago. And of course, that was something I wanted to do. Basically, that's when I went with Hal, and, I was obviously, really, really beyond excited for that. And, I just had that bad experience where we didn't really see anything, when we saw nothing until that last day. And I had that encounter by myself where I was, had that giant moose come in at 30, 40 yards behind the tree, just staring at me. And I was waiting for him to step out. And then he turned around and ran right away from me, straight behind the tree. So the shot never materialized. And, that was a huge blow for me. I had that bull right there, and looking at me, and never was able to get that shot. And we had mentioned I think we did the podcast post that on, and, I actually cried in the woods, that's how much that meant to me, because I knew the odds of seeing another one within, 12 hours we had left to hunt were pretty slim, So that was a big deal to me, because it's something I wanted for so long, and to have it right there, it was a huge blow. So, but I knew I'd be back, but it was a hard pill to swallow at the time, So when I went on this next hunt, it was just I mean, I was, just, it was a big deal to me to just be there again and have that next opportunity, so.
I don't want to cut you off, but just so people know what goes through a hunter's head in the woods, it's not about the killing. It's more about the whole experience, like you just said. It's, Jason actually cried because he spent so much time, and I can relate to that many times. Yeah.
Yeah. It's never about the killing to me. I don't even like that part, to be honest. I just love the hunt and the adventure leading up to it, and all that stuff, so.
We talk about that a lot. In fact, we did out there because the trip is such an adventure in itself, but you question what the whole, obviously the meat's fantastic. So you've got that part of it, but I think there's something just about that. It's not necessarily the kill itself, because you're taking this animal's life, but it's the finishing of what you started. You can have a great time and you can enjoy the hunt, but you really, to complete the hunt, the kill is necessary. And I think it's something primal where, it's in us. It's something that's in us, and it's almost like a test of ourself to show that we can still do that, fulfill that primal need or whatever it is. It's probably a little too deep, but it's the only way you can think about it, because it's not necessarily fun to take the life of an animal, but we know the excitement we get when we do.
Yeah, this stuff gets etched in your mind, they say. All these experiences we've had, and like Jason was saying, they get etched in your mind, but do they really? They get etched in your soul, man.
Yeah, they do.
That's where it gets etched, in your soul. And that's why it lives with you every day, and we can just pop right up and start talking about that stuff. Well, I'm sorry, Jason. I didn't mean to go on too long there, but.
Not at all. I mean, it's part of it, and that's, but then the way I look at it is, I'm always trying to bring positives to everything, and it's the truth. I tell this to my son with fishing and, and everything else, like, the harder you have to work for it, when it finally comes, it's that much more special. So that's basically what, it was elevated even more than the first trip, like the excitement and everything else, it was like, all right, here we are again, and it just, the harder you work, the better it feels. And that's basically where we were at, where I was at mentally. And that was the other thing I told Joe when we were sitting there. It was nerve-wracking for me, because you're trying to enjoy the scenery, but at the same time, you're like kind of nervous about it, because it's like, oh man, I'm here again. Like, you want it to happen so bad, and you kind of start getting nervous, especially in that hunt where you don't really see much action, and.
How many days? I think we went 7 days. Well, you saw one small bull, but for me, I went, I think, 7 days without seeing a moose.
Wow.
No, maybe one cow I saw, but yeah, it's
that works on your mind.
Well, yeah. I mean, hey, it was a spot that we were familiar with. That was my third time at that spot. We had killed some great bulls there. We had seen a lot of great bulls there, but when you go that long without seeing anything, and it's raining every day, miserable weather, you really question everything, what you're doing there. Are we in a good spot?
Everything.
Am I going to come back out again?
Am I crazy?
Yeah. Well, honestly, when you look at the effort that goes into it, and you're sitting there in the rain waiting for a bull to pop out, you do question that, like, what the heck is this all about? So anyway, it was leading up, we had, so kind of to set the scene, the first day we went together, and there was a mountain I wanted to climb. I thought we would get a good vantage of another valley. After climbing this 4,000 foot mountain, we realized it was pretty much just, exercise for us for the day, because we didn't really see. I mean, it was great scenery, and it was a great climb, but we really didn't gain anything from it. So Yeah.
I remember when you pointed out, like, we're going to go up there. And I looked at him like, is this guy crazy? But I don't care. I'm up for a challenge. So I knew it would be cool when we got up there. So I wanted to see it too, personally. But I was like, oh man, like because you're lugging all that gear, you got like 50 pounds of gear, guns, cameras, and you're looking at that and, a couple miles away and you're like, oh my God, so.
I tell you one thing though about climbing mountains is, to me, I'm always wondering, what's on that back side of that mountain. Is there a little hot, is there a hot spot? Is there a little pocket of moose right there? I'm going to find paradise on the back of that mountain, and I just like to explore. So, you never know. You guys could have climbed over that mountain, and there could have been 3 bulls there.
Right.
Well, that's what kept us going. We get up, we get up to one shelf, and then you get to that shelf. You think that was the top, and then it's like, there's another 500 or 600 feet we got to go.
Yeah.
But it was good. It's funny because leading up to this, I knew the spot we were going to, and that was one thing that I wanted to do. So I figured the first day, which is early in the rut and everything else, that would be a good day to get out of the way. So that was the first day, but pretty much for most of the hunt, we were separate. I was at one spot glassing, and Jason was at another spot glassing that was by our tent. And, sometimes I would stop in the morning and I'd do some calls and everything. Jason wasn't practiced up on his cow calls, so I would cow call there and then head to my spot. And so we were, for the majority of the time, we were split up, which was even better with the story of how the moose came. So
let's hear it.
Yeah, so I mean, for the people who don't know, like this hunt, it's not a fun hunt. I mean, it is fun, but it's torturous for a guy like me who goes. I mean, I work physically because that's what I enjoy to do, and I don't sit down until it's time for me to like go to sleep. So for me to sit stationary, and it gets dark. Another thing, it gets dark at 9:30 there. So you're out there, at like 6 a.m. till 9. It's a long day, and it's hard to glass for that long. For anyone really to sit in one spot. So, but you're looking at the most beautiful scenery you ever seen in your life. So that's what keeps you going. And at any second that bull could step out. But it's tough. It's mentally tough. It's a hard thing to do because you just want to go. Like I want to go walk. Like I'm looking around and I'm just dreaming of, like Rick said, what's over that next hill? What's over that next ridge? Like you want to go see it. So it's hard to be disciplined and stay stationary. But Joe said it's the thing to do, and I agreed with him. He was spot on. I mean, in that scenario where we were, that was the thing to do.
The hardest thing for a hunter to do is to learn is patience. The hardest thing is patience, and I'm not good at patience.
Right. I know, Rick. You go.
I know you're not either. Right.
You do. So, Joe, where did you want to go for this now? You wanted to tell just the overall story of it?
Yeah, I think the day that you got your moose, we can kind of talk about from there on, because really the time before that was a lot of boring sitting. But like Jason said, it is the most unbelievable scenery that you've ever seen in your life. It's
Alaska.
It's crazy, and
it's Alaska,
and it changes all the time. And a lot of planes flying over, bush planes. Most of them were the guy that dropped us and his gang, but they're back and forth picking up and moving other hunters or picking up meat and doing that stuff. So really, that's your entertainment for the day when it's slow is seeing which planes are flying over. And you can glass, like I figured I used my Onyx to figure the area I was looking at. And I was looking at about 30,000 acres that I could actually see if there was a moose or a bear out in the open. So, I saw big grizzly and black bear and not many moose, because that's one of the things that is kind of cool. Even if you're not seeing moose where you are, you're looking at them and glassing them on the other mountain, but we weren't even really seeing that. So anyway, that was leading up to the day when we finally did have some action.
Exactly, and it was just funny because the whole time I was sitting there, and you were away from me, and I knew in most situations I probably would have to act fast on something, and I was like, I would have rather had you there. So it was just funny how it all worked out, because we normally walked out at first light because we're kind of we're skylining ourselves against the back of this hill, so we were kind of looking to get a little daylight so we could see what was below us when we walked out. But for some weird reason, we walked out in it was just barely light, like barely you could see, which we hadn't done before. And we walked out together with the intent to sit together and do some calling. And we walked out and, whatever, just went on top of that ridge, whatever saw. I guess we weren't even thinking about it. And we had a little moose decoy that was there that we laid down. And so we're walking out, and Joe goes to tie the moose decoy up, so he's out there bobbing around with this decoy on this, tied to this tiny spruce. So I go in this blind. I like to build stuff, so Joe had this spot picked out that they like to glass from. So I kind of took that and ran with it, and I made this natural ground blind. I cut up, some trees and alders, and I made this cool little, enclosure. So I'll go to sit in that, and Joe walks over, and he sits down, and you can just see, you can barely see. And Joe sits down and he calls, and when he calls, I look down there as he's calling, and I'm like, there's a moose down there, and I'm like, what? So, and it's funny because, like Joe said, you can see 30,000 acres, and there's a moose at like 300 yards below us that's in the bog that I can shoot into. And I'm just like, I can't believe this. So I put the gun up and start looking through the scope to try and figure out what I'm looking at. And when I saw it, the way that the light was, I looked at it, I'm like, I said to Joe, I said, I think it has one antler, because it looked, the sun was only illuminating the one side. And I'm like, I couldn't see because of the shadow. And then we're trying to judge because, you got to act fast because this thing walks 30 yards in either direction. It's going to be out of my life. And I saw there was two bulls there too. It was weird, but for some reason I only focused on the one. And the one that I focused on, then when it turned its head, I saw it and I was like, oh my God, it's a shooter, Because then I saw the antlers, the profile. And at the same time I saw it, Joe was trying to find it. And
you said the sun was on the antler. I think there was some light on it, but the sun, it was dark to where it was not legal shooting. It wouldn't have been legal shooting light in Maine, but in Alaska, there is no legal time. If you can see, you can hunt, but it's a very long dusk and dawn.
Right. Because the sun's so.
Yeah, because
right.
You're so far north and it's so low in the sky.
Yeah.
So it's a really, like Jason kept saying it's down in the bog. So I was looking actually in the bog, but it was really just behind it and behind some spruce trees. So when I finally picked it up, it was actually walking toward the call. I think when I called, I think that maybe made it move. I don't know if it was walking or not when Jason first saw it, but when I saw it, it was walking towards us. And, I said, hey, just let him come. Let it keep coming towards us. It's less you got to pack. So you want him to get as close as possible for the shot. So and Jason's asking me, should I shoot? And I don't know if he was asking it, is it legal or I didn't know, but I said, yes, shoot. Cause it was pretty obvious. It was a good bull.
Slammer. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was funny because when I was thinking how it would go down in my head, I thought the gun had a bipod on it, the rifle, and I envisioned seeing a moose and then I had a spot picked out. I was going to go shoot off this bipod because I figured I would be shooting long range, 300-400, for sure. And But at the same time, I had this little branch on my blind. And the scenario that we had, there was no walking outside the blind to try and set the bipod up. So I put that gun on that branch, and it was funny because, where I come from in Jersey, gun hunting's not a big thing. It's mostly, archery because, it's so small. There's nowhere, there's no woods. So I hadn't even shot a gun in like 2 years, but I shot a lot as a youth my whole life. So, I was pretty confident with my ability, but it was funny. I hadn't even shot one or that gun. And because Joe actually had brought that gun for us to use, so I wasn't even familiar with the gun. And so I put the gun up, and, you got to act fast because, like I said, this thing steps in any direction, 20 yards, 30 yards, it's gone. So I put that gun up, and I thought about the compensation for the shot, the holdover, and I fired, and the thing never moved. And, that's kind of nerve-wracking because I don't know the gun. And, but Joe had tested it and did everything. And I trusted he said it was on, but regardless, you can't see if the animal react to the hit. So that makes it kind of nerve-wracking. So I shot, and then I'm just like, oh man, here we go. I put another one in, shot again. It still didn't move. It just stood there like nothing happened. And I'm like, what is going on? So I put another one. I unloaded the gun. I think I shot 4 times. And then it was moving too. And then it started walking, and then you get real nervous because you're like, oh my God, here it goes. It's going to leave. And then I grabbed one more bullet out of my pack, and I shot one more as it was walking. And then I just put a single in there so I could get it done fast. And I was going for another bullet just in case. And Joe said it fell. He's like, oh, it's down. So, and then that's kind of when the excitement sets in.
My recollection on it, and which I've seen a lot of moose hit, and what I told Jason afterwards is sometimes when you hit a moose, it'll buck and take off running, kind of like a deer, and sometimes they just stand there and soak up those shots. And this moose was soaking up some shots, and I could see it. Every time he was hitting it, I was saying, "You hit him,"
just like Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
absorbing him.
He was hitting them every time, and
yeah.
Jason didn't have a lot of time with that gun because I had it all set up, and I shot it a lot before I went. I shot a lot of different ammo and found what shot the best, and I shot it at long range, so I knew the gun was on. We didn't have an opportunity to shoot it once we got out there, but I knew, it was in a good case going out. I wasn't worried about it being off. And in my mind, Jason was worried he wasn't hitting it. In my mind, I was just waiting for it to drop.
He did hit it each shot?
Every shot.
Yeah. Every shot?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome, Jason.
Yeah, 5 shots. He had 2 in the vitals, heart, lung. 1 was in the front shoulder. It might have been a little bit forward. Then he had 1 in the liver, and 1 in the guts.
Yeah, because it started moving, and it got a little tougher when it was moving across when I was shooting. But, yeah, that gun was definitely on because I think almost all the shots but one, like for the holdover, every one was in the perfect plane of up and down. So that worked out.
What do you think that bull weighed?
Oh,
yes,
1,400 to 1,500 live weight.
Yeah, take some lead.
It was a big animal. Walking up to it, because I've seen a bunch of Maine moose. I've been on a handful of those hunts, and when I walked up to it, I was looking at it. It looked like the legs were like tree trunks on that thing. They were massive. The feet and the legs, it's a different build than a Maine moose. It's just massive animal. I couldn't believe it.
So after Jason shot and I watched the bull go down, we started. I pulled out the phone and we started doing, just videoing the after the shot type deal. And while we're standing there videoing, Jason, I see him get all excited. The camera said, "There's another bull. There's another bull." So
yeah,
we checked that one out, and it was like probably a 40-inch bull that was the other one that Jason saw with the big one. It had run back to about 400 yards, and so we start videoing again, and Jason said, "Oh, there's another moose there." Well, we watched this cow come in, and the cow actually walked up to the moose, the bull he had just shot, and was just walking around it and sniffing it. So it was obvious that we were in a, peak part of the rut.
Yeah.
And that cow would not leave
No.
that bowl.
It just stood there, literally until we walked up to it.
He was the dominant bull, and she knew it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had to run it off when we went down there to go up and walk up to the bull for the first time. We had to run the cow off.
Did you hear cows at all when you were hunting?
Not a single one.
No kidding, huh?
Not a single cow, not a single grunt, nothing the entire time we were there.
Huh.
Well, that'll play with your nerves, huh? Holy cow.
But yeah, it was exciting because, and like the best part of it was that Joe was with me, and for me, like when I think about my hunting and all my hunts, which is a lot, I always love the stuff that I'm involved with friends, like my favorite hunts are like, with my friends or my son or whatever, being alone, whatever. So like the fact that Joe got to be there with me made it so much better, because he was like right there with me, so it was like we got to experience it together, which is that's how I wanted it to be. I wanted to shoot one with him right there. And like the fact that we got to do that and that I shot my moose, it was like, it really hit me hard, and a lot of, of emotion, I had running through my mind when we were sitting there afterwards, it was just so perfect how it happened, and to shoot it in the morning, like Joe said, we, cause then we had all day to deal with it. Like it just it couldn't have worked out any better, really. I mean, other than if we had time to turn the camera on, because we really didn't. Other than that, I mean, it was the perfect hunt. I mean, it's just amazing.
We probably could have turned the camera on. We probably, when you see it, once you saw the bull, you pulled up, you're just acting on instinct. There was probably time to do that, but honestly, I don't know if it was light enough. We would have had to have a really good light gathering camera to do it. But it is, especially out there, like Jason was saying, we had the discussion about, because we were hunting in the afternoons also, but you shoot one in the evening out there, now you're dealing with it till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah.
And that's just to cut it up. That's not even including packing it. So
yeah, and then you got bears around you.
That's right.
Yeah.
You don't leave them till morning, huh?
No. And it's unnerving. It's unnerving enough to deal with the bears, especially we were seeing enough sign that the grizzlies were
without a
right
dead
there.
moose. Right.
And then in the daylight, you're sitting there cutting it up, and we were lucky because where it dropped, it was an open area, but there was alders about 20 yards from us. So and that was actually downwind. So if he's going to come in, that's where he's coming from. So that was just something you always, you don't get worried about it, but you got to be aware of it. You just have to know that it does happen. But like Jason said, that hunt in particular, it is fun to have your friend there with you and share that. I mean, it's a hunt that you do together the whole time, the preparation for it and everything else. So it was kind of cool that it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, when you talked about the gut wrenching part of it, after you shot the moose and everything, that lets you was supposed to be out there. That was part of being out there, and you, that feeling. If you never got that feeling when you're out there hunting, don't go. But that feeling you got was what we live for. We do.
Yeah. Yeah. When you start feeling that, that's when it's time to quit, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
And the other part of this too. So Jason wanted to run back we were only about 100 yards from our tent. So he wanted to run back to the tent and get some stuff before we walked down to the bull. So even though, you look at it and you judge that moose quickly, and I said, it's legal. There's still part of you until you walk up and see what it is. Unless you actually saw 4 brow points, because it's 50-inch minimum or 4 brow points on one side. That's Alaska law.
Yep.
So the whole time he's over there, I'm glassing the bull from up where we were, and I could just see part of his antlers. And I'm kind of like
after
Jeez.
after it fell.
Oh yeah, it's dead.
I've done that. You see an animal, and you go, oh, that's a beauty, and then he falls. Okay, perfect example, Jason, was my Nebraska buck, and he falls in the river, so part of his antler's sticking out, and I'm glassing him. I'm thinking, yeah, he's probably a 150-inch deer. You know,
Yeah.
maybe he's not as good as I thought he was. And we get him out of the river, he's almost 200 inches. You know, but you always until you put your hands on it, you got that second
ground shrinkage.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could see like 3 tines on one brow, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
that side's not legal for brow, but I know he's at least 50.
You guys
know?
got ground growage.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
You did.
that one did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew it was wide enough when he turned his head for that split second I saw him, but like Joe said, I didn't know. You know, I don't study the antlers. For me, the second I knew it was legal width, I was like, and looked. I thought in my head I thought it looked big, you know. But like you guys all said, you don't. You know, I've had that before with the deer, so I was nervous too walking up to it because it's just me personally. I like to shoot, big animals, big deer. Like that's what I like. It's not for everybody, but I like.
Yeah, it's more challenging, but it gives you, you've just progressed to the level where bigger game is smarter. So
Exactly.
that creates more of a challenge for you. Correct.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
so I wanted that I wanted it to be, obviously nice. And I was nervous walking up, and like Joe said, when we walked up, it just started growing and growing and growing. And then when we actually, the way it fell back, it buried its palms in the tussocks there, and you couldn't even really see the palms. You're more looking at the front half. So like when we pulled it out, and then I really got to look at it, I was like, damn, the more we played with it, the bigger it got, like just the better it looked. So it was everything I dreamed of and more, when we got up to it, I envisioned to have, a moose. I wanted to have like, long tines and stuff and points, and it did, it had everything I wanted. So I was so excited to see that. What a bonus that was,
It was fun. I mean, we really were able to savor the whole moment because we had all day. It was only about a 350-yard pack job, which sounds easy, but
Right.
100 yards of it was across this soft, boggy, mess that every single.
What do you
Every
fit?
step.
How much meat do you figure you packed after deboned back to camp?
Well, it wasn't deboned because you can't remove the bones in the unit we were at,
Oh,
but it was 615 pounds of meat.
holy moly!
plus about a 250 to 300 pound cape because
Yeah.
that was the other part of it. We got ready to, so we go down, we're really taking our time, taking some videos, taking pictures, doing all that stuff, really relishing the moment, sending out a couple messages. One of the messages being to the guy that's got to come fly and pick our meat up, letting him know we have one down. And so now it's time to start cutting. And Jason had said one time, and I kind of thought he was half joking, but I started to cut, and he said, yeah, well, I want to do a life-size mount of this. And so I said, well, we're going to have to look at this a little bit longer then and really figure out how we're going to do this, because I'd never done that. I've done it with a deer, but it's a lot different.
It's quite a skinning job. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we skinned this thing out for a life size, and
Wow.
and it really, after doing it that time, it would be a lot easier the next time, just knowing exactly what to do.
Yeah.
But we were able
I
to
bet
skin
that
it.
added 2 to 3 hours to the process. Yeah.
It added at least a couple hours
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of it just like we would try something and we would try to pull it down because we were trying to sleeve as much as we could.
Yeah.
But the challenge obviously is pulling it down. You've got no slack to pull because it's still, the moose is on one side. With a deer, you can hang it or flip it or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, we did get the cape off and I started packing while Jason was still skinning the head out and stuff. And so we got all the meat out, which it was the most physically demanding pack job I've ever done, and definitely not the longest. But I think the quarters, if I had to guess, are 130, I think. And then it was, a couple 100 yards, 250 yards uphill, and uphill on tussocks, which that's not, the tussocks, depending on how deep they are challenging to walk in. So it was taxing that day. It was work. So we get all the meat up, and it's just the two of us back down there, and the only thing left is the cape. Now, you would think with two grown men each grabbing a leg on that cape that it wouldn't be that bad dragging it. It was a bitch. Yeah. I mean, it was everything we had.
I mean, what did we move it 20 yards at a time, and then we fell over, tripping, because it's impossible to walk in tandem through that terrain with the tussocks, and the valleys and the dips. So if it was flat ground, it would be one thing. I fell about 100 times. It fell into Joe, fell into the thing. I mean, it was really, really nasty. I mean, we would go in 20 yards, 30 yards, stop, rest, go. I mean, that was brutal.
Your average guy wouldn't make it.
I kept on thinking the whole time too.
I know.
My 26-inch, my 26-inch inseam wouldn't make it.
Yeah. It was worth it in the end, because I remember once we got it up to the top, knowing that he's going to be doing a full mount with this thing, and where he's putting it. And I know there's a lot of people out there think it's crazy to even think about doing that, but I'll let Jason speak on to why he's so adamant for the full mount.
Yeah. Well, I'm a freak with taxidermy. I have like 5 life-size deer mounts already. I love the animal. Like, it's not like I love the animals. Like I want to see. I don't want to just see a head on certain deer. I want to see the whole thing. And the same with this moose. I've been dreaming of this for so long. And really, when you kill it, like, I wanted to, enjoy it a little more. Like, I wanted, deer you can hang up and bring around and look at it. But the moose, you shoot it, and then you're 10 minutes later, you're cutting it up. So I couldn't really enjoy it as much as I wanted to. And so, for that reason, and it's just something I've always dreamed of doing, and I know it's crazy, and it's probably not something I should spend money on, but, I don't know. It's just something I've always wanted to do. And if I was ever going to do it, this is the moose. So, and I'm building that garage to put all my stuff in, and, I have the perfect space for it, which is great. So that was another reason. If I didn't have that, man cave I was building, it would be something, I don't know, but I have the.
Yeah, I want to say, Jason, what few years I've known you, you don't do anything half-assed. You showed me, I've seen pictures of the giant bucks you've killed down there. I'm pretty impressed. And the house you're building is just incredible. And the landscape, and like you said, you're the type of guy, you're just like me. You don't stop from daylight till dark till it's time to go to bed. And so I can appreciate that and totally understand.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. So that's like, and truthfully, I never, I can't wait to see the animal standing again, like just preserved. I mean, it's going to be so special to me to have that, to just see, because I only got to stare at it on itself for about 30 seconds I was shooting, so I can't wait to be able to enjoy it, in the future. So it's something I'm going to definitely, I'm doing it, I'm all in now. So.
Well, it is true. Like, most people never get to stand up that close to a life-size moose. There's one in the Anchorage airport. You got the couple of them in L.L.
Right.
Bean, but it's not a common thing for a life-size. So I think, especially with an Alaskan moose,
to
be able to stand up next to it and really see how big they are.
That's going to be impressive in your man cave there, definitely. Yeah, I might even have to come down just to see it.
I hope you do one day, buddy. I would love that. I would love that. Yeah. But yeah, it was funny. And then another funny thing that I'm reminded of is, I wasn't texting because you can satellite text out there, which is probably a bad thing, but I was texting with a couple friends, and when I shot that moose, I only told one guy, and I just said I got a nice moose, and then I didn't talk about it anymore, and I wouldn't talk about it. So I was sitting up at night laughing. I had this idea in my head when I got done the trip. I was going to send some pictures of like a real small, like tiny bull to a couple friends and just say like last day bull. I was laughing about every night thinking about the pictures I would find. And I did just that, when we got back, into the camp where we had Wi-Fi again. I texted my close friends, a picture of a real small bull, and I just wanted to see what they would say, for fun. I wanted to mess with them. So the difference.
Sometimes I've done the same exact thing. Is sometimes you'll do that and they go, "Oh yeah, that's a beauty," because they're thinking. Then they're going, "Did he really shoot that?"
And they're trying to stay your friend.
Yeah, they don't know you're messing with them.
I did it to my wife too. I did it to everybody that I text, which is not many people, but it was so funny. I was dying, and then I let it soak for a little bit, and then I hit him with the better picture. So, it's funny. I always try not to take anything too seriously, So that was something I thought was funny.
I do that to my wife all the time.
Yeah, it was it was really like looking at afterwards. Looking at some of the pictures, especially the one where he was carrying it out on his back, it's like a dinosaur. One of my favorite racks I've ever seen on a bull. Just a phenomenal bull. But
everybody wait till you see the video on it, and it's just so big. I mean, a Maine moose doesn't even. I think my biggest one was, I don't know, 918 or something in my life, and that thing's 600 pounds bigger. Yeah, they're 500 pounds bigger.
They're a good bit bigger, but
holy cow!
And another part of it too, which the last 3 trips I've been out, the guys that have gone with me hadn't shot an Alaskan moose yet, so it's a very easy decision for me to make that I would shoot second on all these trips, and so I haven't killed one the last 3 times. And it really, the 2 times prior to this and this time, I felt after Jason shot his that the trip was complete. And I know it's hard for some people to understand, where you think, well, don't get me wrong, I really would have loved to shoot a bull myself any of those 3 trips. But when you do that together and you're both there, what's the difference whether I was behind the trigger or Jason? I would much rather be someone that didn't have that experience yet. And it truthfully is, the second bull out there is always just icing on the cake. It's you really and there's part of you, when you get done dealing with that moose for the day, you really question whether you want to go out and do it the next day and handle another moose.
Yeah.
Because it's physically taxing. I mean, for the first time at 54, that night, I had to get up to go out of the tent to go to the bathroom, and I was hurting. Like
you wait the next 5 years.
I know, I know.
Wait the next 20 years, and then see how you feel.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing this as much as I can, because I know that's coming. No one gets away from it.
No.
But it will put a tag.
I thought it would never happen to me. I really did. I says, I'm going to be 80 years old before they slow me down. When I was like 55.
Yeah.
It happens.
Well, in your mind, you're not slowed down.
No. Of course not.
But you are.
Yeah.
I mean,
your body is.
Reality, you are. But in your mind, you're not. But if you got that mindset, then the pain and all that stuff, you live with it. It's no big deal.
The pain goes away.
I wouldn't know what to do waking up in the morning not feeling like shit. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I really, I mean, I broke everything I got 5 times, But but I mean, but you're right, Rick, 100%, man.
Yeah, so what was it was as much as I felt like, that made the trip. No matter what happened, we were good with. We still had 3 days to hunt, and it was weather-wise. We had looked at the forecast on my inReach, and it was like the 3 best weather days that we had the entire time we were there. So we felt pretty good about doubling up and getting another one, which we did come close. We had 2 different bulls. We thought it might have been the same one, but 2 different bulls that we one of them we just was bad timing. We just missed. He was coming across his valley, and the other one I called from about, I think it was 2,000 yards. Yeah. We were way up on this hill, and we saw him come out in this meadow. So I thought,
it's amazing how far sound will travel in the valleys and mountains.
Instantly, he
yeah.
pegged exactly where it was coming from, and he's looking for us instantly.
Yeah.
Like they know, and
yeah.
So that bull, we got him into about 600 yards, but he was way down the hill and in some spruce, and he disappeared. So we made a move. We ran down there and called from the bottom, and we're just going to try, because that's the way you have to deal with those moose out there, is if they won't come like that, you just go at them and challenge them. And so we didn't have any luck with that bull. We got down there kind of at his level and called, and we never heard from him again. And we had one other day where, and this really exemplifies what Alaska is like, because this area we were in, we had the wind in our face, and we covered about 2 miles walking with the wind in our face, cow calling and raking, and we never heard a single moose, yet the area was just covered up with moose sign. They're there.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
if you don't if you don't hit them right, or if they're not, in the mood or whatever, you think they're ghosts. And
right.
It's the way it is out there. So now, Jason, you're back to the real world and getting ready for deer season, or are you just going to work through it this year?
I wanted to just touch on one more thing before I get into that. And, what I just want to say, and, that, I wanted to just thank you, Joe, because, a lot of people, no one obviously knows this, but you did a lot of the legwork for this trip, for us, and the prep and so much stuff, because I'm trying to do a lot of different things right now, which is, my job, which is run my business. I'm trying to help my wife run her business that they started, and I'm building a house, and we're building a building for my wife's business. So it's crazy times for me, and you did all that work to make that happen. So, that was like huge for me, because I don't really even have the time to think at night, let alone I just, I work till midnight every night. And so thanks for doing that, and that was really special, Joe. So just appreciate everything you've done. I just wanted to put that out there, but made my life easy.
Happy to do it, Jason.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, man, I'm back here working, and it's honestly, the hunting around here is just getting so bad. Because where I am in New Jersey, they're building every single woodlot. You lose your best pieces every single year. And, my farm here that used to be amazing, it now is just, it's lousy now, like there's guys hunting all the perimeter of the farm. And, right the first weekend of the season after that, and like my farm here is pretty much ruined. There's not even any deer. And you saw what kind of deer I have here. And this place is ruined. So I'm not that into it like I used to be, it's more for my son, now anyway. And like, he's real into the fishing. So, I'll continue to monitor some spots, but it's not like the good old days when I used to go hardcore, every night of the week. That's for sure. We'll dabble in it.
What was the, your 2020 season? Could you summarize that again? I forget the exact numbers.
Oh, one of my deer season? Oh,
yeah.
That was a good one. That was a year when there was actually good bucks around. I mean, I'm getting no tips. Like, I have a good network of people, guys that work for the township and other people that are around here all the time, and cops and stuff. And they all tell me when they see nice deer, and there was just this year there's nothing. Like I haven't heard of anything. It's really, really pathetic. But 2020 was a weird year. They were around, and if they're around, I can usually get them. So that was like an amazing year quality wise. I shot 3 bucks over 140 inch, which in New Jersey, where my county especially, that's like unheard of. So, and then I shot, I think, 1 or 2 others that were like 130 inch. So we get 6 buck tags, So that was, and I actually passed a deer that, I could have killed another one, which I videoed, but I found his sheds, which I never ever do anyway. But I passed that deer, was at 133. But anyway, that was just an amazing year for me that, there just happened to be big bucks around to hunt. It was a weird thing. And I was able to capitalize on that. It's a shame, now you're dying to get a tip over 125 inch deer. There's nothing around. It's really bad here. It's getting worse and worse every year. I can't wait to move out of here one day. Oh my God, just move to a new area. So.
Well, we always got a place up here for you to deer hunt. So if you want to come to Maine.
That I will be, there's no doubt I'm coming up, no doubt, I hope to come up.
Yeah, good.
Cause you're a local now up here, Jason, anyway. We see you more than we see a lot of people.
That's right.
Believe me, I was already I was on Zillow earlier looking, I'm on, it's coming, I'm out of here at some point. I can't wait. But yeah, so hunting down here is not looking too good, unfortunately, Joe, so.
All right.
Plenty of deer up here.
Well, Jason, appreciate you taking the time and working through our technical difficulties. I'm hopeful that Taylor can patch this stuff together and make it work.
Oh, he's
we
amazing.
always give him a challenge.
He will.
Oh, which that was the other part too. I forgot to mention was I had one of Taylor's knives, the one he gave Rick and Lee and I each a knife on the podcast, and I forgot my sharpener back at the tent, but was able to skin and quarter that entire moose with that knife.
I did the exact same thing in Wyoming with that elk.
I saw that, yeah.
I never sharpened that knife. And I even broke the joints with it and everything. And usually the hide alone will require a sharpening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And held the edge like unbelievable.
It was impressive.
I got back to the camp and I got a Pindle steel about that long. And I sharpened that thing for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and she was right back. I had the edge right back.
Yeah.
Amazing knife.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jason. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. And
yeah, good talking to you, Jason. Congratulations again on a giant.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate everything and look forward to seeing all you in the future.
Yep.
All right.
We'll
All right,
see
buddy.
you. We'll see you in the spring fishing.
Oh yeah, now you're talking. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Plan on it. Plan on it.
I will. Thank you, Rick.
see ya.
All right.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Take
care,
care,
Jason.
Take care, Jason.
All right, that was good catching up with Jason.
That was awesome.
Excellent.
And Rick, you've had a little adventure here recently too, haven't you?
Yeah, I did. So I left on September 5th for Wyoming on a 2-week trip, and I usually don't do 2 weeks at a time. I usually do like 10 days, 8 days, and then come home. So I ended up staying, I think, 16 or 17 days total, because I ended up shooting an elk on my last day. I called Nancy and said, "Hey, I just shot an elk. I need a couple extra days to pack him out and all that." So I got out to Wyoming, and I hunt with a crossbow, which personally I love hunting with a crossbow. They're very, very accurate. I've killed 3 bulls in 3 years, and with a crossbow. This year I happened to put 2 shots in that elk, and he went about 125 yards, and he was still standing there, and I just put another one in him just because, and he only went like 30 more yards, and he went down. But anyway, so I hunted really hard. I went out to my camp in Wyoming, and I hunted that unit, which I haven't had a tag in for 4 years to draw that. I usually have to hunt another unit that's a wilderness, that's a really long pack trip to get in by horse, and it's just a ton of work, and but I enjoy it. So I ended up hunting up behind my cabin there in that unit, and it requires a ton of walking. I mean, it's 2 to 3 miles every morning just to get into where the elk are. And I don't know if anybody knows about elk, but elk are a herd animal, and they're in pockets. And until you find that herd, like once the rut's over and the rut's kind of ended, the bulls will kind of go off and lay, on the side of a mountain, usually in some dark spruce, and they'll just lay up and rest, kind of like a buck will after they've been run down after the rut. They just want to rest and eat and put some weight back on and just get their body back. But until then, like pre-rut and rut, elk are always, in their herds. So you got to put a lot of miles on just to find those herds. And if you don't find the herd, you're kind of out of the game all day. And I always tell guys, I said, when you smell, you'll be hunting along, and I put a lot of miles on usually just to find the elk. And if I don't hear a bugle, and usually after 9, 10 in the morning, you won't hardly ever hear a bugle all day until almost right at dark. So I always tell everybody, when you smell elk, you're in the elk, and you just, like you talked about this morning with that moose, you're just like, whoa, it stops you dead. Right then you're like, there's elk right here. First thing I do when I smell elk, I check the wind. Where'd that just come from? And so then I really start hunting. Then I was like, there's an elk here, or there was an elk here. And usually, if you
they strong enough that if they're down, if they're upwind of you, you always smell them?
Always a bull.
They smell like a moose?
No, an elk is very musky, very distinguished. What an elk does is, an elk has a wallow, and like a moose will suspend himself in water and all that. Moose they'll piss in a hole or whatever and hold their legs together. An elk rolls in it. They'll roll and roll and roll, and they love black mud. If you can find, like I know where there's 3 or 4 wallows up in those mountains, they're probably a half to a mile apart, but those wallows are almost continuous every year. And once those bulls find them, they'll just go piss in them, and then they'll just roll. They'll roll in things. Sometimes you'll shoot them, and they're covered with that black mud and stink. Oh, you can smell them 50 yards before you get to them, after you've shot them. Sure. So I love the smell of a bull elk. I love the smell of a bull elk. It just, I'm like, oh, he's right here, It just hypes your blood and gets your adrenaline up there, everything. So I hunted pretty hard. That first morning I got up in there and I heard a bugle right up the mountain, and I was sneaking up some black growth, and I killed that 6x7 up there 4 years ago. That big one I killed, that was my biggest bull to date. So I was kind of headed back to that spot hoping there was another bull took his place, because that's usually what happens when you kill a big bull. Another big bull usually moves into that mountain. And he bugled, and I'm sneaking in with my crossbow, and I'm coming up the side of the mountain, and just picking my way, looking and picking my path, and I'm just listening. And he'd bugle about every, 5 to 10 minutes, pretty regular. He bugled like 4 or 5 times, and I was closing the different distance, and I was probably 250, 300 yards from him, and I knew the way he was bugling. When they bugle like that in the morning, over and over, they usually got some cows standing right there. They're trying to razz up the herd and hold them all right there. And he's trying to get the cows rounded up. And so I'm thinking, oh yeah, the wind was good, it was coming at me and everything. And off to my left, I'm on the side of a mountain like this, and it blowdowns everywhere. So I'm kind of picking my path. I'm just looking with my eyes, kind of picking my path as I go, and I'm searching for any movement. 20 feet in front of me, there was a cow laying to my left in behind a blowdown, and I never saw her. And she just blew right out of there and ran right to the herd. That was it. I could just hear hooves going, and so she took them and blew them, because when a scared animal, that's disturbed, comes into a herd like that, and the rest of them sees something, so they all know there's danger, and they were gone. Yeah. That was it.
Can I interrupt you just for a second?
Yeah.
Were you calling Rick at all when you would
I called at daylight once.
Oh, okay.
And I got him bugling, and I don't like to overcall. And another thing is, when you call with a bull elk, when you call and he answers and you start returning your call to him, he knows your exact location. Exactly. They can walk in from 500 yards away and they almost know, just like you said, they know every square inch of that woods. They live there, okay? But he'll walk in within 20 yards of where you were standing every single time. But what they'll try to do is they'll try to, just like a buck will, they'll try to get downwind of you. And when you get in those mountains, as soon as that sun starts to come up, you get those thermals, So the sun's pretty, the wind's pretty steady right at daylight. But as soon as that sun peaks over those mountains and it gets to be, let's say, 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, and that sun hits and it starts warming up those trees down in those valleys, those thermals start coming up, and that wind just changes constantly. And I had so many encounters in Colorado that the wind screwed me up on every single one of them, and I'll get into that in a second. So anyway, that herd ran off, and they went way down into the river, which is you couldn't even get an elk out of there. It'd take you 3 days with a chainsaw, and there's some steep places over the rocks that I don't think I could get a horse, so I didn't go after them. So I just kept hunting, and I ran into this other bull about 1.5 miles north up towards the mountain, and I saw him go, and I could see his antlers and everything, and he ran off. So, and he had, I don't know, 5 or 6 cows with him. So I started tracking him on bare ground, and elk are pretty easy to track, especially, like I said, they're a herd animal. So even if you lose one track, you just start to make a loop, and you'll pick up 2 or 3 cows running this way. So that, if you get really dry dirt, which it is out west, and an animal puts his foot in, you get that little bit of black moisture underneath. You can tell, being a tracker like you and me and Joe our whole life, it's easy for us.
Right. Now, when you say herd, how many is that?
Anywhere from 3 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say there was about 8 in this herd. So I found this one bull, and I see him, and I knew he was about a 300-inch bull, and I never saw the other one again, that big one that I pushed off the mountain that morning. So for 3 days, I encountered this other bull that I saw. The second day, I jumped him in the morning. I see a bunch of cows, and then the wind shifted. They caught my wind again, and they were gone. And so I started tracking them again, because there's no sense really hunting an elk when you've jumped the whole herd, because that's pretty much the elk in that pocket of that whole mountain range right there. Usually you get 3 or 4 mountains around you, and they that's their domain right there. And if not, you got to run, you got to hike 2 more miles to find another herd or whatever. So I started tracking them again, and I actually caught up to them. It was either the second or the third day, and I'm just sneaking along. I got my bow, and I'm sneaking along on the track. I hadn't heard a sound, and I come up through this little bog, and there was 4 or 5 rubs right there, big rubs on trees, and they were fresh, like 2-3 days old at the most, bark laying all over the ground, and I heard a squeal, just which is like a bull grunt, just like that. I went, whoa, they're right here, I had just lost their tracks on the ledge, probably 50 yards back, and I was actually making a little loop, trying to pick the tracks back up. And in my head, I kind of thought they went to my left because there was dark timber in there, and I chased them out into there the day before. And I heard that grunt to my right, so I turned, and I'm looking at it. I said, okay, they're right down in there. And I figured there was a bunch of cows and stuff, so I start working my way down. I come up over, there's a bunch of blowdowns and stuff in this old dead tree right there, and I thought to myself, I said, I'm just going to slide in behind that dead tree and let a little cow call out, see what happens. I got to that dead tree, and I had walked by the bull. I was focused over here where I heard that, and there was a satellite bull that let that grunt out, and I could see 2 or 3 cows They were feeding, just moving around, and they were probably 60 yards from me, which is, for crossbow, that's perfect range, right? Dead all day. I see something to my right move, and that big 6x6 is standing behind a pine, one of them Douglas fir small pines, probably 10 feet tall. So he was right behind it. 10 feet back, I could have slid an arrow into him, and he wouldn't have known I was even there. And I still don't think he even saw me. And I went, oh, there he is right there. And I said, and I'm looking, it's all thick brush, and I'm looking at this cow, and he's focused on that cow, right? He's got his eyes right on her, and she knew I was there. I could tell she knew it. So she just kind of looked like that and started to walk off. And I ranged that opening. I said, he's going to walk right through there. When he does, I'm going to arrow him. As soon as she started to go, and she must have started to run when she got out of sight, and he just one jump right through that opening, gone. I'm like, damn. So I hunted 2 more days, and I jumped the herd again. Never got close. Wind kept shifting. So then I went to Colorado. Went down to Colorado, and I hunted with Medicine Bow Outfitters. I've never done a guided out hunt in my life. I've always done my own thing. So I hunted with a guide this weekend down there, and we glassed. We were hunting this big mountain range, and you could go up on the side hills, hike up onto a side hill like a half a mile up, and just glass like 5 or 6 big bowls, and you had all these canyons, and almost every canyon had a bull in it, every single one. And we'd watch, 10, 12, 15 elk every single morning and every single night. Then all day you could see them in the timber up there, with spotting scopes and binos. We just lay on our back and glass. So that was kind of unusual for me, like Jason talked about. We laid there all day long, sometimes 10 hours, just glassing, waiting for those elk to come back down, which we'd see a big bull in the morning, and I see this one bull, and I know he was 340, 350 inches. He was a giant. Giant. And I had him at 285 yards with a muzzle loader. And I had a brand new Woodman Arms with a Revic peep sight I put on it, which is a dial peep sight that you can actually dial your minute of angles, and the peep comes up as you dial your minutes of angles, so it adjusts your elevation with your yardage. And I printed off a little square of the elevations, 100, 200, 300, 400 yards. So I had that on there. But I hadn't shot that gun enough to feel comfortable to shoot it. I wanted to be 200, So at 285, and he stood broadside on the side of the mountain for me. Just what a brute. Just antlers that big around, just a giant bull. And he kept bugling. He pushed those cows right up the mountain. And the guide wouldn't let me go after him. And I'm 95 to 99% sure he'd have been dead if I'd gone after him, because the wind was coming down the mountain, and he's pushing those cows around. And the way I hunt, that's the way I hunt. Usually when I find a herd, I sneak in behind them. I always go in behind them just real slow. I just kind of watch, because those bulls will just keep pushing those cows. Sometimes they'll come right back to you, pushing those cows around all morning. So it's not like they're in front. They're usually behind the cows. So if you get the cows out front, they're not watching you, and he's paying attention to them. So you can make some mistakes, and you can get away with it. So he wouldn't let me go after him. So, but anyway, we ended up seeing 47 bulls.
Holy moly.
47 bulls.
Wow.
On that trip in 5 days. Yeah, I never seen so many elk in my life. And I could have shot a bull every single day, but they just weren't bulls that I wanted to kill. I wanted a trophy bull, a big one. And so finally the last day we ended up not glassing. We glassed for 4 days. We went up on the mountain by horseback. First thing we get up on the mountain, and that right where that big bull had gone, we rode around the mountain this way, and we got above the drainage he was living in, and we let a bugle out, and man, he started bugling at us, and you could hear the roughness in his voice, just bugling back at us. And he was smacking trees down there, just breaking stuff off. And so I looked at the guide and I said, I'm going down. I'm going to split the difference, because when a bull bugles, they already know exactly where you are, and they're going to be kind of careful coming in. They're going to skirt that edge, so I like to split the difference. Then you catch them unaware, especially with a bow, right? So I get down in there, and it dropped into this drainage. And I can hear him coming, and he's raking this tree, just busting branches off and everything else. And he's so close, I can hear him just like I can see him, but I can't see him. And I'm thinking, a couple more steps, I'm going to see him. And then pretty soon I see his rack, and he was like at least a 320-inch bull, which is a hell of a elk. You know, that's a good elk, 320. And he's coming up, and just like that, within a second, I felt the wind on my neck, and then I heard cluck, clump, cluck, clump, dead silence. He was gone. So there was that one. I figured a step or two I'd have had him. And that's hunting, you know, the whole thrill of the hunt. So I get back out of there, and I told the guide, I said, there's another one bugling 2 canyons over. He goes, yeah, I heard him. I said, let's go after him. So we went over there, and within an hour we got over there, and he bugled 2 more times, let us know where he was. So we kind of had a really good idea where he was. So we got in there, and he says, get ahead of me. And he says, I'm going to cow call and let a couple bugles out. So as soon as he did, man, he answered, and he's coming. He's coming. He let another bugle out, and he's already 200 yards closer. So I'm set up. I got into this little brushy patch, and I had shooting lanes ahead of me to the right, and the wind was coming from my left, so I knew he was going to go to my right, try to skirt and catch the wind of him bugling. He didn't know I was there. He's coming in, and I see his body. Then I could see glimpses of his rack, and I mean, he was really, really heavy, probably 3-inch diameter bases on his antlers. He's coming in, and just like that, wind changed, and I see him walking away. And, you know, with a crossbow, you need a pretty clear shot. With a rifle, I think I could have killed him. So I go, what the heck? I said, I think he smelled me. So I held right still. Well, then Chris comes up. He goes, what happened? I go, he smelled me again. I says, he's gone. I says, let's track him. I said, no, say a word. So we went right after him. And, you know, he was a big bull. He had a heck of a foot on him. You could follow him pretty easy on bare ground. So we tracked him, I don't know, 250, 300 yards. And then I see some blonde, you know, and that's what you look for in the woods when you're elk hunting. You look for that blonde, because in big bulls, they're really blonde colored. You know, they show right up in the timber. And I see a little blonde right there. And I pointed, I said, elk. I'm just sliding over, and I grab my binos, and I look, and it's a spike, right? I go, damn, that's a spike. And then all of a sudden, he goes, big bull, Rick, big bull. He goes right to your left. I look over like that, and just like that, I don't know if he heard him whisper or caught our wind or what, but he was gone. And that was the last day. So then I drove back the next morning to Wyoming, and I'm thinking all the way back to Wyoming, which I usually do. When I'm leaving a hunt, heading to a hunt, I'm always thinking about the place I've been, the next animal, how I'm going to kill him, where he was last, what I saw for sign, right? It's all going through my head. So I got back to camp that night, and I was pretty tired, so I said, I'll go hunt in the morning. And I get up in the morning, and I don't know, it was almost like I had jet lag. I didn't feel that good. I hung around camp, had 2 cups of coffee, didn't even go hunting until 9, right? And I figured, I got a couple of days before I fly home, you know, and whatever. And we were going back out for 2 more weeks anyway, rifle season. I said, nah, I better go up on the mountain. I really should go after that bull. At least if I don't see him, at least check out and see what's going on. And I hiked in there, and the wind was blowing the wrong way to hunt that mountain. So I said, damn, I'm going to have to hike the whole length of this mountain, like 2.5 miles, and come back to hunt into the wind. Because you know how it is. If you hunt with the wind, I mean, your chances of seeing an animal is almost zero all day.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So I hiked around that mountain, and I come in, and I don't know, I hunted probably about a mile, and then I got into that area where I had seen that bull twice. And I get in there, and I'm paying attention to the sign on the ground, and I see fresh bull tracks. And I saw quite a few of them. I'm following them, and I said, and I learned this. I learned this from an older guy. So I had 3 cow calls on my neck, not just one. Most of my life I carried one, right? And I learned this from this guy. He had 3 cow calls. And I've always said, when you find somebody that's better than you at what you do, steal their brain and be better at it, right? Watch everything that guy does and figure it out, because he's good at it. Yeah. He's better than me. I want to learn how. I'm not jealous. I want to learn how. I want to be that good or better. So I bought 2 more cow calls on the way back to camp when I stopped in Rock Springs. So I had 3 cow calls. So I hit those 3 cow calls. So that put out 3 different sounds. That told that bull, that's a group of elk, not just one. That's not.
So these are like different brand calls? And
yeah, all different brands, right? So they all get a different sound. One was a calf, and one was like an older cow, and one was like a medium cow. That, the tones on them. I hit all 3 of them, just yeah, 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 yeah. And then I stopped. About a minute and a half later, he lets a bugle out. He's 200 yards from me. I went, oh, boy, and it was a deep bugle. I knew that was him. I said, that's a good bull right there. And there was a dead stump in front of me. And I said, I need to be right there. So I slid right ahead to that dead stump, and I just stood there dead still. And then pretty soon, about 2 minutes later, I see his antlers coming. Then I see his body, and he walks right up, stood right into he got to an opening, and I just went, yeah, with my mouth like that, and he turned broadside, and I slid an arrow right through him. And man, he bolted out of there and took a jump right over a blowdown, and I could see the blood squirt right out of him on both sides. I knew I made a good hit, right? Yeah. And he ran about 20 feet, and he just stood there. So I crouched down behind that stump. I started reloading my crossbow and put another arrow in, because you never know. You need another arrow. You don't want him to go suffer, and you want to put him out. So I stood back up after I got reloaded, and I couldn't see him anymore. And I said, he walked off. So I started just easing down there, and he went about 150 yards maybe. And the blood was coming out of him pretty heavy. There was blood coming out both sides. And then he stood in one spot. And
I saw that in the video.
Yeah.
That was a huge puddle, man.
Huge puddle of blood.
Surprised he went so far.
I know.
Bleeding like that.
Yeah.
Geez, shot right through him like that.
Right through.
Right.
Yeah, and I use those mechanicals, which I had a ton of comments, guys. It's all about shot placement.
Yeah. Well, I got to stop you right now because one of our listeners hit me up before Joe called me about this podcast, actually, and they said, "What's Rick use for broadheads?"
Yeah,
and I said, "I don't know. I'll ask him."
Rage. I use Rage, and
I thought that was a Rage hanging off there. But.
Yeah, everybody's got a different opinion on what they want to use, and fixed broadheads, they're gonna go through bone, but you know what? You're hitting bone. You're probably not gonna get that animal even with a fixed broadhead.
Right.
It's like. I mean, anything you do that you put on social media, you're going to get. You're going to get criticized or people that comment. But I mean, even like the crossbow thing, because I look at crossbows. They're just another way to hunt. They're not. It's not the same as a bow.
No, it's a legal method though.
It's legal method.
Okay. And I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you guys all this. I hunted with a bow. I hunted with a recurve bow when I was a kid from the time I was 12 years old till I was 22 with a recurve, an old wooden recurve. Dick Drysdale gave me when I was a kid. I shot one deer with it, and that was a very memorable deer because I worked hard to get it. Then I went to a compound bow. I bought a Bear compound, then I went to Matthews and all that. Well, about 5 years ago, I tore my shoulder completely off. In Wyoming, I hit a tree. I hit a nub under the snow, shot me to the left, hit a tree, tore my shoulder, worst pain.
On a snowmobile, you mean?
Yeah. Worst pain I ever had in my life. And since that day, I cannot hold my left arm without it collapsing and pull a bow anymore. So I either give up hunting, give up bow hunting.
Yeah.
So I give up to satisfy these guys.
Yeah.
No. All you can't tell me there's not an older guy out there that his shoulders don't bother him.
No,
Every one of
no,
us do.
Of course.
And
no, my point is that it's illegal, like you were saying, it's a legal method.
Yeah.
Whether someone uses it or not, who cares? It is not. We know that, yes, a crossbow is more lethal than a regular bow.
Yeah,
you can shoot further. It shoots faster.
Yep.
I would look at it like comparing
to me, it's
a flintlock to a modern muzzleloader, like a Woodman Arms that you can shoot 200, 250 yards easy.
Yeah.
Where a flintlock with a ball, you're not going to be able to. It's just different ways of hunting.
Yeah.
As hunters, you should really, and I will say I put, like, calling it archery. I don't necessarily call it archery. I wish it was a different, I like them to be legal, but they shouldn't be in the same category as a bow, because a bow is different. Just like a compound shouldn't be in the same category as a recurve, because a recurve is more challenging than a compound. But I just wanted to throw that in because I see all the stuff too, and it's like,
oh yeah,
Rick knows the difference between bows and crossbows, and
yeah, I've done it all my whole life, done it all, and for me to keep bow hunting, which I enjoy, and it's another, a whole season that I'd miss out on.
Do you use a Raven?
I use a Raven.
Yeah,
R20. Yeah.
Boy, those things are
415 feet per second or something. But it's a more lethal kill than a bow, too. It's faster.
Sure.
The
more humane, I would think.
Arrow goes right straight through
it.
Right.
I've had both my shoulders done, and I've been done with the bow for a while now.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know. I think 4 or 5 years ago, I just gave it to a kid in town.
Yeah.
Arrows, bar. I gave him everything.
I did same thing. I gave my bows away.
Yeah.
I gave them to some young guys.
Yeah.
And
so anyway, you shot this. I want to hear the end of this one too.
Okay.
So
cut you off.
Yeah. So I walk up to him and he's back too, and you can tell he's ready to go down. And I said, I'm gonna put another arrow in him, because with an elk, they're like a moose. They'll go and go and go till they can't go no more. And sometimes you end up down in a rock pile where you're climbing out of there with meat and everything else. And so he saw me. He was just standing there, kind of wobbling a little bit, and he saw me, and he started to move ahead, and there was a fur. So I just moved a little bit to the right, and I let a cow call out with my mouth. And when I did, he turned broadside, and I put another shot through him, which is, I think is the one in the video. It kind of was just the shot angle. It was back a little, but I knew at the angle it was going to slide right in through his lungs. He went 30 yards after that. He went over the hill, and he ran real quick, and then I heard him go down. I could hear the crash and everything, and he let out a couple of death moans there, and so I got up, and by the time I got up there, he was gone. He was expired, and it was just a moment where I'd worked a whole week trying to kill that bull, and I couldn't get close to him. I had that one opportunity, and where he was close, and I'd actually walk by him, but other than that, I couldn't even get near him. And then to finally outsmart him, snuck in there, just did everything right in my head, and made it all happen.
That was a week after, so there was a week in between.
A week in between, I was going to Colorado,
okay.
So it was a week after. And and like I said, Colorado was a great hunt, excellent hunt. It's not always about the kill; it's about the adventure.
Sure.
And I saw a ton of elk, and it was a great trip.
So was that something where you just called and found a guide on short notice?
No, a friend of mine named Jake Stoner, which I hunt with in Nebraska, and Don Schwant, who used to own D&E Outfitters that I hunted with. And I became friends with these guys after I hunted with them. And we kept talking about doing a hunt together. And Don found this guy and lined it up. And I had a really good time. And all great people. The guys in the camp were just top-notch, excellent, just good.
Many elk killed in camp?
Jake killed a 5x5. Don had some opportunities, but he was looking for a big one, and I had opportunities every single day, but I was just looking for that big one,
Now, was that over the counter, or did you have to draw that tag?
As a draw. Okay. Yeah, Colorado. It took me a couple points.
Yeah.
Not bad, but great experience. And
when we get down to the short time of this podcast, give me just a minute to ask Rick a question, will you?
Well, just ask it
time
now.
to do it?
No, we got all the time in the world. Just ask him now.
I was talking to Jelly Roll the other day, and is that his name?
Jelly Roll.
But anyway, he goes,
You hunt with him?
No, I don't think he's much of a hunter. But anyway, he says to me, who's this new singer I'm hearing about, Rick Labby? So I said, well, he happens to be a friend of mine. Rick, come on. When did you start writing these songs and all this stuff, man? I mean, took me by storm. My wife,
I have a few questions myself.
Yeah, but he's singing that song about his wife last night. My wife's crying. And I'm going, she's like, that is so wonderful.
I apologize.
No, don't do that. She was lovey afterwards. But
I'll tell you guys, when I was in 10th grade, I had this English teacher named Mrs. Reyes. And we always had these projects. And I've always been very, I don't know what you want to call it, but my mind I'm always thinking about something in the mountains all the time. And I love music my whole life. I just love music. I spent my whole life sitting in an excavator, listening to the radio, probably 12 to 15 hours a day when I was younger. That's all I did. And I love country music. So, and I'd always be thinking about, and I can remember when I was younger, I always wanted to send Clint Black or George Strait my songs, right, that I had in my head. And I used to write them down. And then about 3 years ago, I wrote that one about Lanny. You know, it took me a while to work on that.
Was that long ago you wrote that?
Yeah, well, no, I just finished it, but I started 3 years ago in deer season, and I said, man, that'd be a good song, you know, if I could get it. Well, then AI came out, and with AI, you can put your voice into it.
I can express myself now.
Oh, see, I really thought you could sing.
A little.
You didn't think that was him singing, did you?
I guess not. My wife cried for nothing.
Actually, wait till you tell her.
No, he told her.
Don't let her listen to this. But anyway, so it's pretty cool. I got messing around with it, you know, and then I just started some of the songs I had in my head over the years. I started writing down, and then I put them into AI, and then you can kind of pick your music, right? Pick the tone you want. You know, and that's what I do. So when I was in 10th grade, this Mrs. Reyes, so she'd give us, you know, like we had to write a song. So I wrote a song in class. Everybody wrote songs, and she gives me a C, and she writes on it. She says, "There's no way you wrote this." She says, "Your mind is not that broad." I went.
Was it called "He Stopped Loving Her Today"?
Well, I like that. I like that song.
There's no way you wrote that, Rick.
It's on the road. It's on the road again. Willie Nelson.
George Jones.
Oh, yeah, man, that's awesome.
So anyway, then we had to do a poem or something, and she accused me of not writing that, and then I can remember we had to do a magazine, right? We had to come up with our own magazine. It had to be like 12 pages, and we had to actually do a magazine. That was our assignment. So I did like a replica of Field and Stream, and I wrote all these articles, and she gave that back to me and flunked me on it, and she said, "There is no way you wrote that," and I wrote every bit of it. So I said, "Well, all right," and you know, I didn't like school.
Yeah.
My mind was always wandering. I couldn't wait to get out of school and just go to work and run my own business. I knew what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Wanted to write songs.
Yeah.
And he hunted on the side.
Yeah.
So
he's doing it.
So anyway, yeah. So I mean, and driving up here to Jatman, you know, you don't have a lot of reception with the radio. So I think a lot on the way up, and of all my adventures over, 50 years of Jatman back and forth and fishing the river and all the ponds, and as I'm coming up through the mountains, and I pretty much almost write a song every time I come up.
Have you heard of satellite radio yet, Rick?
Yeah, but I don't have it.
You don't have satellite radio?
No, I don't.
Only the FM, huh?
No, actually, you guys are gonna laugh, but I got an old-fashioned iPod, and I got about 250 songs that I like to listen to, it's mostly Johnny Cash and all George Strait, Clint Black, all the old stuff, and that it's just continuous, you know.
Yeah.
So
I listen to. When we were kids. I mean, you know, I'm a little older than you guys, but it was country music back when I was a kid. That's what we listened to in the house. Beatles, all that? No way, man.
No.
It was country western all the time, and I knew every song there ever was.
Yeah.
And I might go to school and sing them, and my friends go, "Who is that? I never heard that song."
I noticed my kids. It's funny because they, you know, sat in the back of the truck always listening to Clint Black and George Jones and Merle Haggard and everything else, and that's all they listen to now.
Yeah. But you know, it's country music has kind of come around.
Back around.
Yeah, my boys they listen to country. I mean, you know, they're in their 30s. But
so you guys got to be careful because if you hang out with me, I might write a song about you.
Really? Oh boy.
I was thinking about. I was actually thinking about. Because I've got about 20 that I've written, and I was thinking about putting them on like an iPod, you know, something you could sell to the public.
Cut an album, dude. Cut an album.
All hunting, all outdoors songs, all hunting songs. I think it'd be.
You
I
might
think
have
it'd be
something
good.
there.
I might.
Yeah,
I
you might.
Yeah, but got to do something when you're out hunting all by yourself. You know.
Joe, say it. I can tell you this.
I'm speechless.
No, you're not.
I'm speechless.
Did he want to say something or what?
I was speechless.
Spit it out, Joe. Spit it out.
I was just going to ask Mike about his moose hunt because then Rick could write a song about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. But anyway, we got time to go into moose a little bit?
Like I said, Mike.
Keep going.
I know. I mean, but
we'll be out of here soon enough.
Yeah, no. Oh, no, I don't care about that. I've done my scouting for the day. Yeah. First season of moose, I was up in Zone 4 with a 13-year-old and his dad and his grandfather, 3 generations, you know. And those are the hunts
that
awesome. Move you.
Yeah.
They move you.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't, you better find another job.
Yeah.
Being a guide, you know, because so many guides now are just out there with their egos. I mean, they really are. There's way too many guides.
Way too many.
But us old guys that are doing it and been around and it's amazing how much you go with somebody and you get moved by the experience.
Everything that happens and that's going on, you watching the two of them, right?
Name of the song, 3 Generations. All right, we got the title. Go ahead.
Okay, Rick, write this down. We got. I'll kind of speed through it there. We're running out of time, Joe says. So, I spent a week up in 4. What it was, my hunters. They rented a camp at Saboomic, so I was kind of limited on my area, and I hadn't been up in that 490 Russell Mountain over in that Cockmagomic, you know.
Right.
Been a long time since I'd hunted there, so there was a young fellow friend of Cam's that went with me and helped me out, and he'd been there 2 years prior, so we put our heads together and come up with a spot, and I went in there scouting, and it was just full of bulls, full of them. So we went the first morning. We went in there, and we had a bull going. I don't know, 300 yards in. We had one going. It wasn't even light yet, and But we were talking about this, and some you people that are hunting when it's early in the rut, like it was, or it still is, I guess. And you can make them grunt, but they'll grunt and they won't come.
They won't come.
They'll give you 2, maybe 3, and walk off. So that was what I hit first thing in the morning. I hit one of those bulls, then I hit another one of those bulls, and then I hit a hot cow, and I was dueling with her. We were going back and forth, and then a bull was with her, but he wouldn't come. So we was like, I kept telling the guys, hey, don't worry, man. It's going good.
Yeah.
And so the young fellow was standing beside me, and we're walking up the road, and like you said earlier, you got elk in your nose. Well, a bull hit me right in the nose.
You're like, whoa.
We just whoa right up, and I couldn't get the guys quiet enough, quick enough,
Yeah.
I said, geez, he's right here. Just calm down. So I gave it like a minute, and then I kind of tickled the alders and whacked him a little bit, and he went off. I mean, went crazy at like 40 yards. Well, in the excitement of it all, somebody spoke a little too loud.
Yeah.
Of course, he was gone. And you know how it is. You never hear them. They just go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's amazing how they can make so much noise and just walk away. So, you know, I told him, I said, don't worry. It's no big deal. You know, that was a big moose, but, you know, don't worry. It's hot enough. We're going to catch another one.
Yeah.
So,
lesson learned.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, we were standing there, and I'm, you know, trying to make everybody feel, you know, don't worry about it type thing. And we heard one grunt. Well, actually, the first grunt didn't even sound like a bull. And the young guy with us that can hear better, the young ears, man, those are good out there in the moose woods. He goes, man, that was like a growl. I go, yeah. And then he grunted again. Well, now I know it's a bull. 2 more grunts. He was 30 yards away. I mean, he came on a string.
Yeah.
He wanted to ride in my truck so freaking bad, man. So anyway, he just, there was a little twitch in the woods there, and he walked right into that twitch, and the boy shot him right through the heart at like probably 40 yards.
Yeah.
13-year-old, huh?
Wow,
his
yeah,
dad's
yeah.
standing right next to him. His
Yeah.
dad never even got to raise his gun.
Yeah.
It
Good for
happened
him.
so
Good,
quick.
That's
Yeah.
the
good for that
best.
13-year-old. Yeah.
And we were a little worried about, you know, we were looking at his targets from practicing a little bit, you know, and we, you know, we were worried a little bit, but not, you know, he was confident. And I said, you know what? That's all that matters.
Right.
If you're confident, and he was, and he proved it. But
99% of it's right here.
sure it is.
Yep.
Sure it is. Like they were saying, well, geez, you know, he's shooting the target here and there, here and there. I said that has nothing to do with the gun.
No.
That's him just he's not quite sure of the gun.
But he's in the kill zone.
He
Yeah.
And then then they took him out another time. They took him out another time, and next thing you know, he's shooting this stuff. So yeah. So anyway,
That was short and sweet.
it was,
Yeah.
but it was 1.42 mile, 1.42. So we had to pack him out, and you know,
You packed him out 1.5 miles?
yeah.
Wow.
And you know me, Joe. I ain't about packing.
Yeah.
No.
Me either.
Who carried the bulk of it?
I had the young guy, Cam's buddy, with me, and he got on the knife, and the young fella's uncle was a butcher. He was a butcher. He had his own shop and everything.
Yeah.
And so the two of them jumped right on the bull, and we got everything ready to go. And his dad took a rear quarter, and the kid took a front quarter, and they made the first run out. And then his grandfather, who was 70, and because in me, I'm 72. So I said, well, we'll just keep making meat bags that we can lift.
Yeah, that's it.
So we made a couple nice meat bags, and him and I went out with those, and then.
Hang on, right there though. Is that the first pack load you ever done?
No, you and I did one night. Well, all of us did. Remember?
Oh, that's right. We did do that one.
And I was carrying
because
meat
I
on
know
that.
you like I know you like bringing them out whole. So
yeah, I do. But
I do. I like
that
bringing-
particular.
that's right. That was we brought it all out in one load. We
did.
I think 9 of us.
Well, we
carried
had a crew. We had a crew that night.
Yeah.
That's handy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
But that particular one, I was humping a big thing of meat out, and it fell out of the pack. And who's behind me? Joe. Remember that? Joe, he throws it over his shoulder and carried it the rest of the way out.
Yeah, Joe's like a horse.
Yeah. So anyway, we packed him out, and we got it in the truck, and I headed them to Bishops after that. But it was a quick hunt, but it was a quality, just a moving, just a great thing. I mean, it's why I do this. At my age, those are the hunts that I live for.
Yeah,
yeah, I really do. So
and we get to do another one here in a couple of weeks.
Yep. And that's that's what I'm doing this morning. I went out this morning, and I saw one bull, a couple of cows. I heard one bull, but he only grunted twice, just like we talked about. And I did a video on You know, people tell you don't call the moose in this preseason. You'll make them call shy. You know how stupid a statement that is.
Yeah.
So I explained it today in a video. If you want to check it out, yeah. So anyway, we're on to zone 8. We're
on to zone 8.
And it's looking good. It's looking good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When you start flying, let me know. I'll go up with you. And ride around.
We're gonna be.
Won't be long.
Not today, obviously.
No, but I mean, we'll get another week anyway.
We'll be flying a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we finish up, this has been quite a podcast. We're
all over the place.
45, yeah.
yeah,
so,
good one.
Anyway, just wanted to first off let everyone know that hasn't heard about the true estrus that we're carrying now.
Yeah, dopey.
It's now's going to be the time to get it. So, just to let everyone know what makes ours different is it's single batch. It's taken when the dough is in heat and shipped directly to you.
Refrigerated as well with a cold pack.
Comes cold. Yep.
So
the real deal stuff.
$35 a bottle, fresh as it can be. So
awesome. How big?
One of the most important things. There's two things. If you're going to carry anything as an accessory to your hunt to help you out, there's two things you're going to carry. It's going to be a grunt tube and some estrus.
Yeah.
And
grunt tubes. I just dropped off a batch at Barry's store this morning of my grunt tubes.
Yeah, they posted it.
Yeah. Yep. And we won't be out of stock again. I know everybody's been frustrated because they're always out of stock. As soon as we get them in 10 minutes, they're all sold. But we get 1,000. We can get 1,000 a week now. And
I wouldn't know. I don't have one, Rick. I'm just throwing that in there, but.
he's gonna have one.
He's gonna give it to you with the song.
Yeah.
I get it.
I want the grunt in the song. It's got to be one of the instruments.
Okay.
I get the cassette tape with it.
A two
8-track for you, Mike.
So, jeez, what am I gonna do with you guys? Right. Yeah, no, we're gonna put him in Jackman Hardware. L.O. Cody's gonna stock him, and Kittery Trading Post, and I think Indian Hill. And also Moosehead Trading Post in Newport. So my grunt calls are, in like 5 different locations around the state. So I think you guys, anywhere you go, you can find them now.
Good deal.
Rick's they've been selling a ton of them, and it's for good reason. I mean, it's a good grunt tube.
They are the best sounding call. I guarantee it that you've ever picked up. I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe in them, but the best sounding call. You can go for a buck grunt, slide that right up to a doe bleat, and it sounds identical to the can. Identical. Yep. I can make that sound 100%, and we've got an instructional video on there too.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
So the True Estrus from True North.
Yep.
We'll have a link for that, so you can buy that direct.
I think we got a link online now. Neil put one on.
There.
Yeah.
So
so go right on there.
The True North Lifestyle, and get your estrus. And also, once you do kill your buck, check out Peak Taxidermy. That was Jeff that we had on, which was a really good podcast, I thought.
Really good.
That we got good feedback on that.
Yeah.
Jeff's a great guy, really interesting to talk to, and I can see we're going to be doing a lot more things with Jeff in the future.
Oh, geez, he's all over us right now. I talk to him every day. I mean, he's always he likes everything we anything we post. He's all over.
Great guy.
Yeah. Great guy.
But does really nice work.
Phenomenal work. Yeah.
So check out Peak Taxidermy and Gary Williamson.
Williamson, the landman. So my old buddy Gary. If you need any land, or you've got any questions on land, or you're thinking about land over in Western Maine, he's the guy to talk to. He's got every little loophole on any piece of land that's available. He's got a bunch of land available. So look up Gary Williamson over there in Western Maine.
And as always, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, subscribe on it. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the places we're going to be posting stuff. So I think with, that was one of the things I went up. Lee is up with his moose hunt right now. The moose hunt's still going on. And I flew up Sunday, and I went Monday with Mark and Kate Cody, which we had a great day. In fact, Monday morning, it just was a beautiful, perfect morning. I know there was a lot of bulls killed right off first that morning with the conditions we have. We didn't kill anything. We didn't get the responses I thought we would in the place we went into, but it was, you know, I know that Lee will be coming out with a story. But anyway, we had one of the new camera guys with us, Josh, who went around with us, and I think Neil put a picture up of the contraption he built for.
I saw it. Yeah.
I saw that.
It was when I first saw it, I thought it was pretty ingenious how he rigged it and everything, but I thought he's never going to get through the woods with that. And I was really surprised how well he got through the woods, through alders and everything with that, because he could fold them right in tight when he needed to. Yeah. But I'm anxious to see what he comes up with that. But, you know, whether it works well or not, I gave him an A+ for effort on trying to do the best he could to capture. And I think it's actually going to work really well. So we'll look forward to seeing that.
Yep.
But anyway, I guess that's all we've got for today.
All right.
That's it, huh?
How much more could you have?
All right.
What a day.
Yeah. Back to the drawing board, back to work now. So.
Yeah, right back in the woods.
Yeah. Till next time, folks, shoot straight.